Time for sound design. In this video, I will talk about my new sample pack, vinyl drums, and since it's almost Christmas, this is a free sample pack that you can download from my Gumroad page. So the sample pack is called Vinyl Drums Ultimate Drum Sounds with Character and Noise, and that is because for this sample pack I went through my vinyl collection. You can see my collection of vinyl records on Discogs. There's a link in the description so you can browse and see what kind of records I have. But basically I went through a large part of my collection and looked for one-shot drum sounds. So I went, for instance, to these kind of old hip-hop records, especially on 12 inches, that's usually the instrumental, but I also went to other kinds of records, pop records, break records, turntablism records, jazz, funk, soul. And I looked for individual drum sounds, so kick, snare, hi-hats, percussion sounds. And I didn't sample loops, but just the individual sounds from all those records. So it was a lot of work going through all these different records, listening, finding that one snare or that one hi-hat that is sort of open enough to sample. And I collected 192 of these sounds. So there are 4 categories. There are the kicks, the kick drums, 48 of them, 48 snares, 48 hi-hats, and then 48 percussion sound and sort of miscellaneous sounds. So that category is kind of wide. There's some noises in there, some vinyl crackle, but also some stabs and some brass stabs and some other kind of more sound effects type of sounds. So as you can see here in Ableton, I have the folder open, vinyl drums. There are 84 kicks. So for example, these type of sounds. Under snares, you'll find stuff like this. And as you might notice that they have some character and noise in them. So my goal was not to create the kind of cleanest sample library, but to really embrace the fact that they are from old records, these sounds, and then there is a little bit of vinyl surface noise in the sample, or there's a little bit of in the tail of the sound, there's already the next sound you hear. So if you like this kind of lo-fi old sound, then this is the perfect library for you. Let's continue. Let's go to the hi-hat category. This one's nice. So it's a wide variety of sounds that you can use for any genre. So this is not necessarily meant for lo-fi hip-hop. You can use it for IDM, dub techno, whatever you want to create. And then the percussion folder, the cowbell, of course, very famous, KRS-One. So this category is a bit more experimental. There are some kind of brass stabs in here as well. And some shaker sounds. So yeah, it's a really great library. I will use this myself a lot probably because I don't want to put on a record every time. I just need one little sound. So this is a good sort of library to have and to take from. And most likely I will use this in combination with other drum sounds. So I don't necessarily create entire beats only with this sample library, but I will combine it with 808 or 909 drum machines or just other Ableton stock sounds. You might wonder, how does it sound if you make an entire beat actually by only using these sounds? So I created some examples in Ableton that I will show you in various tempos. So the first one at 107 BPM sounds like this. So as you can see here, this beat has 7 different sounds. So it starts with this kick, this very snappy snare, but that still has a little bit of crackle in it. Nice hi-hat, shaker, 2 different other shakers, and then this sample, it's from the percussion group. And it's basically like a sample from a beatbox. And here I didn't use any effects. So these are the sounds straight from the sample pack into a drum rack in Ableton and just programmed a quick beat. All right, example number 2 at 100 BPM. So if you look at this beat, I used 7 different sounds, starting with the kick. You can really hear also in the tail of this kick sort of the surface noise from the vinyl record. Then we have this snare, kind of a hollow snare, feels like it. It sounds like there's a lot of reverb on it, but it's in the sample. Then this little hi-hat, this shaker. I think it's from Run DMC, but I'm not sure. And then this crash cymbal with a lot of vinyl crackle in it. This clap. And this is a famous percussion sound as well. How I use it here at the end. The third example is at 122 BPM, and that's more like a 4 to the floor kind of example. So let's hear it. So you can hear that you can use it for different genres, so it's not a genre-specific drum kit. In this beat I used 8 different sounds, and I did a little bit of effects, so there are some sounds that have effects on them. So this percussion sound has a delay on it, so without the delay it sounds like this. I think that's the only sound with a effect on it. Let's check. Yeah, so starting with the first sound, the kick. Very nice vinyl crackly kick. The snare is very sharp and clean, actually. One hi-hat. This kind of noise, it's more like a noise burst than an actual hi-hat, but... And then this hi-hat on the offbeat. The shaker, and then at the end of the 4th bar there is a clap. So that was the 3rd example, and now for the 4th example, it's 120 BPM, and here I used a little bit of more effects, and I also changed kind of the start and end points of the samples to get a bit more creative, and also to create a melody with one of the percussion samples. As you can see, I use different layers, not just one drum rack. So there's 5 different layers, and then in one drum rack there are also multiple sounds, and it sounds like this. Let's go through this one, starting with the kick. Also, you can hear in this kick there is something else from the record in the tail. Snare drum. Very basic. Then let's look at this drum rack. It has multiple hi-hats in it. Also the noise burst again. Then on the next track there is the melody, so I used the percussion 2 sounds, sounds like this, from a very famous old hip-hop track, and I changed the start point and I used an LFO to modulate the effect, so then you get this kind of melody. And it's also pitched up, so it is playing above the original pitch. Very subtle. Then on the next track I used the percussion 24 sound. Let's look that one up. It's a stab, it's low, but I only used the tail of it and then I put a delay on it. If you look at the individual sample, you see that the starting point is also later. So we basically missed the impact and just used the tail of the sound. And then there's a delay on top of that. And then the last layer is again the same. It's snare 48. So here we only use the tail of the sample. And there's a low cut EQ as well to get the rumble out. So together it sounds like this. So you can see that you can already get creative by just having it on different layers, adding some effects, changing the start point or the end point of the sample. A lot of these samples have tails with some kind of other sound in it or some noise, so you can use that in a creative way. So you can get much more mileage out of this sample pack than just using only the drum samples as is. So if you're into lo-fi sounds from records, then this is the sample pack from you. You can download it on Gumroad. If you like it, leave a rating on Gumroad. And if you're on Gumroad, there are 3 other sample packs that I have there that you can also download for free. So one is the MC303 sample pack. It's the melodic sounds from the Roland MC303. And then the 2 other sample packs are instruments, sampled instruments for Ableton Live in Simpler and Sampler. Alright, that was it for this video. Thanks for watching. Have a good holiday and keep making music.